Hey guys, guess what? I know I talk about this podcast all the fucking time, and she's here to talk about Summer House today. You guys know her as JJ, but I call her Joey, so we're going to call her Joey today.
I love it.
I can't say that with a straight face. Hi, Joey.
Hi. How's it going?
How are you liking this season so far?
I like it.
You went real high pitch there. You real high pitch. I like it.
You remember that scene in the limo in Beverly Hills where they're talking about Eileen Davidson's shoes? And she's like, look how cute my shoes are. And Lisa Rinna goes, they're cute. I really like Summer House. I need to see a little more. I'm a little nervous. It feels
me too.
calamitous.
Here at She Speaks Bravo, we believe that Bravo TV is a great form of self-care and therapy. Look at me. I've been using it for over a decade, and I am a complete mess. That's me, by the way. I'm Emily, and I'm your host on this journey.
What is this, honey?
I love that.
If you're not already subscribed, get subscribed and hit that notification bell because I'm releasing new episodes at least 3 times a week.
You fool.
That's my opinion!
I talk Bravo, I talk true crime, and sometimes I talk a little scripted. So whatever you're here for, I hope you enjoy the show. I'm going to go through the cast, and you're going to let me know, like, okay, this is where I stand on the cast, okay? Okay. Amanda.
Like her this season.
Okay.
I think, yeah. Last season was really rough. The wedding, it just turns people into crazy.
Apparently.
Yeah, but she's pretty good this season. Look, I mean, she's a little docile, so she just kind of like floats a little bit for me. But I do like her a lot this season so far. I mean,
do you like her in general?
Yes.
Okay. Maya.
Love her.
Okay. Ciara.
Very excited to see more of her. Austin just dragged her. It's too much. So I'm very excited to see her. I feel like she's the Ciara we were always supposed to get, but Austin kind of like fucking ruined it.
Right?
Yes.
Paige.
Love her, but just feels like sometimes like she's sneaky, but like not in a bad way, but like in a great way. But just, yeah.
She's sly.
She is. She's very good.
Yeah, it's kind of masterful.
Yeah, it's like a producer's dream.
Which is what she sort of she accuses Lindsay of doing that too, but I'm like, girl, you're good at it too.
They're both very good at it.
Mm-hmm. Danielle.
Like sad, but like love. But I'm just sad like what's gonna happen. And I feel like she is just kind of how Paige describes her. She's very ride or die. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of cry. It's ride, die, and cry.
Ride, die, cry.
Yeah. No, but I love her. I'm very excited to see where she goes this season just because I think we're widening the net on Danielle. In a personal way. Yeah.
I feel the same. Lindsay.
Look, I love Lindsay. Always have, always will. She is consistently Lindsay. Nothing about Lindsay this season is anything different than the past seasons. And I think people are missing that.
Consistently Lindsay is like the name of her like autobiography.
Yes. That's exactly right. I think it's fascinating that people are so shocked. I'm not. This is exactly who Lindsay is and who Lindsay will always be. The Carl of it all is a little much for me, personally. I don't want to see it, but...
You mean that you mean that naughty nurse scene?
I can't.
I hate him.
Everything went inside. Like,
I hate it.
Everything touched. It just felt like no, it was way too much. I feel like this is her last season though. Yeah. So that makes me sad because I don't know if it's going to end the way that we would, as viewers, would want it to.
The way we expected it.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Like, this is not the trajectory we saw for her. But
this isn't the timeline, viewer forever timeline that we thought we were going to get.
This isn't what we saw.
No. It makes me sad.
Carl's
another one for me that I'm good for him to go.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever loved him though Okay. I don't think I have. I was just talking about this last night when I was watching. I don't know if I've ever really loved Carl. Okay. I liked when I saw Carl dating, and I liked that what he brought to the show in that regard. But when we really like dissect it, I don't know if I love Carl. To me, Carl hasn't really changed all that much. Carl to me is a douchebag, and Carl still is kind of a douchebag, you know?
This is so interesting. So my guest, because my guest last week was the same, and I feel like I've been kind of surrounded by a bunch of Carl lovers, and I didn't realize that, you know what? I might have just been blinded by the fact that I'm a sucker for that like recovery story. Yeah. And I hadn't really thought about like what personality wise is so appealing. And there isn't really much other than he's just, someone said it perfectly, he's very sad.
Yes, it feels very, I mean, we can get into this more, but I kind of likened it to like Shay from Vanderpump. Like when Sheena and Shay, that relationship is kind of giving me what Lindsay and Carl are giving me right now. Like no joke. It feels very like there's something off, but I don't question their love for each other. It's more of just like, it feels like Lindsay's like just trying to keep it together, like keep everything together. And I'm not saying that Carl has fallen off the wagon or anything like that, but it does feel very Sheena and Shay vibes. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting comparison. I can't compare it to that because I have a true hatred for Sheena. I don't know if you know this. We're in a war. I'm convinced that she's like reporting my account, and that's why I can't go live.
I just saw this yesterday. Wait, what the fuck?
I'm convinced that she's reporting my content, and that's why I'm now in IG jail. But I did go I'm going hard on Sheena this season. Yeah, I've not been a fan of Sheena for a while, but like this season, the way she's doing the whole like attempt to stay relevant and like. Yeah. And being like, what am I doing? It's like, girl, be messy. That's fine. But this is too far. It's our first divorce ever in the history of Bravo with 2 main cast members. And this is what you're doing. Okay, girl.
Also, never really looked at it like that. And that, like, the 2 main cast members on Bravo getting divorced, it's big.
Well, so the reason why it's such a big, like, I'm aware of it is because I said last season when Kyle and Amanda were getting married and it was so horrible, I was like, dude, I'm down for a divorce storyline. We've never seen that before. And so like I've been very aware that like we haven't had it before. And so then when Katie and Schwartz did it, I was like, there's the divorce storyline. I'm very intrigued to see how this plays out. So this is our first main cast members. Neither can leave the show because both are, staples. So like they have to film together, which is why Katie's like, please not a cast member because then I have to film with them and I can't just like X them from my life. I'm going to be forced to show up to events and shit with them.
Exactly, because that's really what she's saying. I don't think she cares so much that it's Raquel. It's just, like we have to be around each other, which I've witnessed. It's awful. It is fucking horrifying to produce and like horrifying to be a part of. You're just like, why?
It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, last one, Kyle.
Oh, I don't know how I forgot about him. I love him. I love him so much, but this last episode, he's just doing what Kyle does. He's being a petulant child.
Yeah,
and crying about it and tantruming.
So Pia texted me right before I logged on, and she's like, "I'm over Kyle, fully over Kyle." And I was like, "I'm not quite there yet. I get it, but I actually was able to watch this episode and be like, this is just what Kyle does." And I'm not like, it doesn't feel inauthentic. It doesn't feel like he's putting on a show. It feels like he genuinely would react that way. And it is getting silly because it's like, okay, Kyle, you really do this all the time and you really are like 40. And so as someone who is almost 40 myself, I wouldn't continue to act like that, but I'm also not surrounded by a huge group of friends like on a TV show. Like it's a very, you know what it's like. you've produced shows. It's a pressure cooker. You're surrounded by cameras and you're put in these like intense situations.
Yes, it does make for interesting reactions, things that are said. It just kind of happens.
Yeah.
You know?
So you've probably already said this. I've gotten people saying that they think that the whole room situation is like a producer did that. Was that, do you think production set that up?
I do not.
That's what I said. Okay.
I truly believe.
I get to say I told you so. My favorite thing to do, guys.
Sag Harbor's really psycho with permitting with vacation rentals. So I truly believe that it was an accidental mistake. Production found out about it. Now, did production go, okay, we're not going to let them know until they get to the house? Yes. But it wasn't a contrived thing. It's just a real thing.
That's exactly what I said, because number one, I'm like, production wouldn't need to do that to create drama. They've had plenty of drama.
That's what I was saying.
With them in rooms like normal. Like they've had plenty of drama season after season without them having this like room fiasco.
Exactly. And they've also had to share rooms for so many seasons before. It's just not a thing that it's all of a sudden going to just go, oh, this is big drama. It's just not.
Yeah. And they wouldn't have had time to find another location that would let them film.
No way.
No fucking way at all.
I think they got lucky in that place because somebody bought it right before season, because we're in season 7 right now. They bought it right before season 4 or 5 or something like that. So
whenever they had it,
those vacation rentals, they get rented out like a year before, and production does that. They'll rent that house out the year before.
Yeah, there was no way once they found out that they were going to have to do that they were like, let's go find another one that'll let us like destroy the property.
Exactly.
But even just with camera crews and shit, like it's, you know, it's wear and tear on a house. So like if they don't, because I know this because like my family home, my mom and stepdad's home is still used for locations and stuff. Fun fact, my house is in the movie Old School.
Really?
Yes.
So, is it the house?
No, it's not the house. It's so when Will Ferrell is fixing up his car in the front that's the front of our house.
Yeah.
And when Andy Dick does the blowjob class and then gets into a fight with Will Ferrell in the kitchen, that's our living room and the kitchen.
Your house is very picturesque.
Yeah, it's a very nice house.
Very pretty. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's the only really fun one, though. Everything else was like commercials and stuff. But like, so anyway, whenever they would film, one of like either my mom would be there or they would have like a designated person to like watch the house to make sure the crew wasn't like fucking it up. Because let's face it, you know what it's like. You're like putting shit down, putting equipment on the walls, scratching stuff because you're like, we just need to get it done.
And they have the Pelco cameras and they have the audio built into the walls. It's a lot of stuff.
So like there's almost no house that's a beautiful Hamptons home that could fit that many people. That's like, sure, yeah, come film here. Exactly. And they're going to throw raging parties, theme parties. We're going to jump in pools. Totally. Come do that. Did you watch What Happens Live with Danielle and Gabby?
Okay. Yes, I did. And then I turned the last fucking 10 minutes off and I missed the most important part of all of that.
Where Gabby...
I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked.
Which part? Which part are you talking about?
Oliver.
Oh, yeah, where she said that Oliver cheated?
Yeah. Trash.
Yeah. Well, so Maya had said when she went on Watch What Happens Live, she's like, Oliver is not who I thought he was. He's blocked like real bad stuff. So I figured it was a cheating situation. It had to have been, right? Mm-hmm. He looked shady, but maybe just because that's what we're looking for now. Like as soon as Maya said that he wasn't the person he thought he was, anytime I see him on camera, I'm like, yeah, I can tell he's up to no good.
Exactly. Like when he was sucking on that popsicle, I was like, what are you doing? Why are you there? What are you thinking? Got
weird energy. Don't like it.
Weird energy.
But
for sure.
Gabby really fucking proved herself, man.
Okay. I am loving Gabby.
Girl.
I need Gabby to be around more. I need Gabby to put everybody in their place. I need Gabby to just call it like it is. And she's brand new. I would have thought she'd been there for seasons.
Andy usually, you can feel how annoyed he gets when people play games slowly. Like he gets irritated. So, you know, it's the first question out of the gate on the game, like where it's the bobbling heads and you have to pick like who was the most whatever.
I felt that energy.
And you can tell, like, I get nervous because, you know, Andy's such a sassy little fucker when it comes to his games on Watch What Happens Live, because he gets so mad at his producers. Like, did you not prep them for these? Like, you could tell he's
really
like
does.
getting pissed. So the question was, for anyone who missed it, the first one was, who has the most to answer for at the reunion? And Gabby takes forever. She's taking forever. And finally, even Danielle's like, you got to answer. She's getting nervous. She's like, Andy's going to kill you. And she goes, I think Danielle. And Danielle's like, what? Okay. And so Andy makes her follow up, and he's like, so why did you say Danielle? And she's, to her face, says, look, this Lindsay stuff, like, there's a lot of things that you were speculating on and saying that she's not aware of.
It scared me. I got to be honest. I got scared. I was thinking, whoa.
Too.
So Gabby's telling her there's things on camera that are going to come out. And Danielle's like, huh, what? And I'm like, oh my God, no, stop it. I'm scared. I feel like this friendship's over.
Because so Gabby doesn't know. This is what's interesting about Gabby. She's new to the house. And she's clearly not easily swayed. Here's something I need to correct that I said last week. I got the timeline wrong. The Family Feud thing was filmed before the reunion. I thought the Family Feud thing was filmed after the reunion.
So did I.
And doesn't that kind of make it a little strange timing for Maya to bring up something that was filmed before the reunion? So they filmed this Family Feud thing. They go to the reunion. That reunion was wild. And then she's bringing this up now.
Yeah, why didn't she just bring it up at the reunion?
And if you don't bring it up at the reunion, then it's like, oh, we're letting it go.
Well, now I feel like I have to change my entire outlook on this.
Me too. It was like, well, now
like,
I was a little on the fence. I was like, well, maybe Maya is kind of being put up to this a little. I was like, maybe. But now I'm like, oh, no, she definitely is being put up to this, because this is like pretty forced. What a stretch, in my opinion.
It is. The only thing I can think of is that, I mean, the truth is that we all know that Lindsay's a force to be reckoned with. I don't know if I would feel confident going into any type of conversation where I know that I'm going to bring up something that I feel like is contentious. So there's an element where I can understand why Maya may have not wanted to bring that up right then and there at the reunion, but I am shocked that have they not hung out at all? It's okay to have conflict and not really talk about it, because the truth is that they don't really see each other. So now that Maya has to actually confront this, she's forced to. But now that I know that this happened before the reunion, there's just a little different,
right?
Yeah, it is. It hits a little differently now.
It's a little bit different. I know.
It does. It really does.
It's a little different.
God, now I'm annoyed.
I know, like now going into this episode, I'm like, it's put into the back of my head. I'm like, noted. Yeah. Noted. Because there is so much power in that group dynamic of everyone talking shit about the same person and like feeding you that information. I would be guilty of kind of falling into that too, especially since Maya had a hard time feeling like she fit in last season. She was feeling like a little left out. There's a little bit of that element. She's very close with Ciara, obviously. So,
it feels like we're sniffing out the week. Now it changes my mind a little bit. Oh, right? God.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to bring this up at the top before we went into the recap, because I was like, it'll pepper our thoughts a bit. Another interesting thing was the polls from Watch What Happens Live. The audience is really fickle, I tell you, because the polls from last year, because the Amanda Kyle wedding was so tragic that season. It was like, okay, who do you think will last longer? Lindsay and Carl or Amanda and Kyle? 86% said Amanda and Kyle.
It was wild.
I'm like, guys, if we had done that last season, I think they did.
They did.
Everyone was like, Lindsay and Carl.
That's correct. They lost.
So that just goes to show you the audience. They're fickle, I tell you. It doesn't take much.
It changes, guys, viewership changes their minds so quickly. It takes no time. And you know this as a content creator. You can post something and then in a week you're like, oh, that's just so dead news.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
All right. So we're going to go into this recap. We're picking up where Kyle is like, storming off again. Kyle had, by the way, two storm offs in the same dinner. He had the storm off one, and then he returned. And he stormed off again.
He's like, the first time just wasn't good enough. So I just got to do it one more time for effect.
My favorite is that he actually, he thought he was sitting down to catch a break. He thought he was sitting down in that area to be like, I'm just going to take a little breather from what, by the way, he was fighting with himself. He got himself riled up. The episode prior, he was really he's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. You're the only one talking about it. Maya wasn't even contributing. Maya even was like, okay, then let's stop talking about it. He's like, and another thing, like he was the only one I've got himself. And then he sits down, and Danielle's like, I don't want you to sit here. And he's like, what? Because he's wasted. He's wasted.
Wasted.
Yes,
he is so fucking drunk. I'm telling you, Amanda knew he was down for the count at 2 p.m. She was like, we're in for a night. I'm telling you, she just fucking knew. Yeah.
So, and what does he do? He goes and he's like, I'll get a dirty martini. I'm like, oh, fuck. No.
Okay.
No.
When he orders that, I'm like, what are you fucking doing? What are you doing?
Dirty martini?
Nasty. And then he gets to the table, and they did something with, they were intercutting some of the B-roll, and then he's drinking wine. Did you see this? He sips a martini, puts it down. They cut back to Kyle. He's sipping a big thing of like Cabernet or something, puts it back down, and grossed out.
Oh my God, my head hurts.
Yeah, he was wasted.
No wonder he was so hungover the next day.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that just made me nauseous. Oh God.
Yeah. That's gross. I can't.
Brutal. Because a fucking martini is just a glass of alcohol.
Yes.
It's all it is. That's why you sip a martini, but you don't order it when you're already drunk. Because then you're already drunk and you're just going to down it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I couldn't believe he ordered it. I was shocked. I truly was shocked.
Oh, God.
And he had the espresso martini when he got there. It was just not, I don't know how they don't get sick.
I swear to God, I think that all the time.
We never see it. We never see them get sick.
Never see them puking.
And they would show it. Or they would allude to it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand it.
Like, even from like early years, were they ever pukey people?
No. They really weren't. Never have been.
That's really impressive. Okay, let's give them props for that.
But VPR too.
VPR. Whoa.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's nuts to me.
No one throws up.
No one throws up. I mean, I don't mean to. I know we're talking about, allegedly, but that just makes me feel like cocaine has to be involved.
Correct. And they don't eat, but I still think that there would, why don't they have, why aren't they sick?
Because that's the only way I've ever been able to salvage a nausea. Like when I get wasted and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to throw up. I'm like, someone give me a bump right now.
Correct. That is correct.
So allegedly, they also just, but Kyle's also that guy that would these are the people that when they have hangovers are like, I'm going to go work out this hangover. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
The Southern Charm cast does that too.
People do that. And I remember the one time I tried to do that because someone forced me to, and I was like, I just want to throw up, and this didn't help anything. Let's go get drunk again because that'll fix it. That's the only thing to do. And so Kyle's doing the oh, now I'm sober and I'm perfect, and I don't remember any of that. Ugh. Fully in mocking mode. Okay. So Carl has been sober 2 years, right?
Yes. The timeline's kind of dodgy just because he mentioned something at the reunion last year, but that would have been a year ago already. So yes, I think it's been 2 years.
So Amanda does say, she's like, look, there are real facts here. I just don't want you to get clouded with emotions. But then when they talk about real facts later, it's still from when Carl was still not sober. So I'm struggling to understand exactly how it's relevant to right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have a thought on this.
Help.
Okay.
Help me.
I think it's not so much Kyle doing a hangover comparison of look who you were then and look what I brought you out of, as much as it is he feels as though when Carl wants more money or Carl wants to be appreciated more or Carl feels like he's doing all the work, I think it's hard for Kyle to understand how he can feel that way when it wasn't all that long ago. He is basically having to pull him out of the gutter, having to make sure that he shows up to work on time. He's coked out. He's doing all these things. I don't think that he feels as though Carl has proved himself enough in that short amount of time to warrant asking for all of these things and to also feel like he's not being appreciated. And I think for Kyle, that feels like a slap in the face.
Got it.
Because he feels that he's done all of these things to help him, that how can you be asking for more when I feel like we've already given so much? But then in the flip side, you know, Kyle, I've said this on our pod, but Kyle knows who he hired. So if you knew he was a fuck up then, you knew he was a fuck up when you hired him. There's some accountability and responsibility he needs to take with that.
They're at this point where Carl has clearly not fully understood the job description, because either Carl has taken on things like either these events, he didn't understand that these events were like part of his job description, but Kyle thought they were and thought that was understood, because that seems to be his big issue, right? Carl seems to think that like he shouldn't be going to these events without being paid like appearance fees. That's what I'm getting from it, right?
That's how I feel. That's what I'm getting from it too. Like from the show.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I also feel like we're not getting the whole thing. I feel like we're missing so many pieces.
It feels very like fourth wall layered. Like it feels that Carl's really speaking from the sense of like what he's gained or what he offers to the loverboy table, so to speak, because he's Carl from Summer House.
And like Kyle comes from the nuts and bolts of the business. And he's like, that element is not necessarily, Carl is not that vital.
Both of their feelings are validated, but they're missing it. Like they're not talking about the same things.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're like two separate.
And Kyle now has taken the very wrong approach, because kind of throwing someone's past, like their past calamities at them from when they were using is not the way to go on national television. It's like, that's low, dude. Come on now. Like he already has had to answer for that and watch himself when he was in that phase. Like we can, all right, now you're just like blowing up your friendship.
Well, what's so interesting is that one of our listeners pointed this out and DM'd me about it, and I went, oh, that's so weird. Last season, or I guess it was Hannah's last season, Kyle defends Carl because Hannah is basically putting out there that Carl does like Adderall or like cocaine or something like that. And I thought, oh, but Kyle, didn't you just defend him? And now you just did that. You just fucking did that. Didn't Hannah just accidentally say it too? Wasn't she just speaking?
On a podcast,
wasn't it just conversational?
And she said that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not looking good, Kyle. It's not looking good. I love you, but not great.
Yeah. So then, okay, let's go to something lighter. Danielle and Gabby talking about how, you know what? I knew in the picture they showed of Gabby's ex with someone who was not Gabby at Coachella, I knew it was Danielle. I knew it was going to end up being Danielle. Well, because in the trailer, I saw when Gabby's like, he actually cheated on me with you. I could just tell it. I'm like, this is what they're getting at. They're getting at it's going to be Danielle. Thank God they're in a good place. And thank God this wasn't like any drama. And it was just like, we are queens together. Gabby, though, with the amazing petty text or post that she did on all of his social media, on his LinkedIn, which is my favorite, like the fact that she added LinkedIn to it.
Funny.
I'm a liar and a cheater. I don't deserve the girl who I claimed to be my girlfriend for the past 4 years. I like that she gives herself. Gabby Prescott is one of the best people I've ever met, and I have wasted her time and taken advantage of her love and her trust. I'm sorry for this, but it is a pattern of behavior.
I love her so much.
I do too. She's great psycho, TV. But great.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Because she's like unapologetically who she is. She's like, I'm shallow. I think all cancer men are crazy, and I'm not saying sorry for that. She's like, my sister and I are codependent. My parents are my best friends. Like, she's just nuts.
It's so chaotic. It's so chaotic. I love her. She's a dream. She's exactly what you get.
Yeah, love. So yeah, they go. Then they go. They're like, let's go. Did you see them putting French fries in Kyle's pockets?
Yes. They're just so drunk this entire weekend.
Yes.
I don't think they ever got sober once.
Yeah. They get back home at like 2:20. I mean, look, this is a fair point to go to bed. The girls go to bed, but then Kyle and Chris like jump in the pool. And I was like, okay, this is fair. Like the girls are allowed to go to bed. But Kyle really, like, how the fuck does he stay up this late?
I don't understand it. And he's just with it. And he always feels up and at him.
Yeah.
I
he's
don't
like
know how
eating,
he does it.
He's the last man standing in the kitchen eating.
That's my favorite thing.
I know people are over it, but I'm like, I think I just relate to it so much that I'm like, I'm not complete until I see it.
Well, we get to see this peek behind the curtain and then the other curtain because production's not there. So it's just them. I don't know. I like it. I love it. I love seeing him meandering around the kitchen, eating snacks, not remembering what he's eating, falling asleep with chips on his chest, like the whole thing.
Yeah, I like it too. Like talking to himself, like talking to the food. Completely talking. Oh, God, I love it. Well, the next morning, Sam has invited her. How do we like Sam?
I don't know. I feel a little indifferent. I think she's a great personality. I need to see more of her, but I could also see her being the type of personality that's kind of like a one and done season.
Yeah. I don't really have an opinion of her at all.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat.
It just kind of feels
like, okay.
Yeah.
Her entire personality feels like it's about her roster and dating this guy. I don't know. Like maybe I'm just too old for her. I don't know.
Yes. It's interesting because she's not that young, but she feels.
Yes.
I don't know. She doesn't.
She
feel
feels
like
really
an adult.
young, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's what it is.
And she's she's incredibly impressive. Like she's like up at 5:00 in the morning and like running around working out, and then works and then goes to a club and then wakes up and does it all over again. I'm like, I don't know how you have the energy, but yeah.
I mean, I'll put it this way. I felt like we wasted precious camera time on that date and like having to watch them like wake up. I was like, I don't care about any of this and it's uncomfortable. Yeah, that's how I felt. I was like, all right, cool, great. We wasted like 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's exactly
precious time, guys. We could have seen other things.
I was like, move it along. Okay.
Yeah.
But then Danielle FaceTiming Carl and Lindsay is so heartbreaking because she so has their back. And is so sweet and it's so great. And she tells them what Kyle says at dinner and doesn't give like the full, like the words. Cause I think it's one thing to say, drugs. Kyle was saying that you use drugs, but it's another thing to say, he said coked out. Isn't that so different?
Computer. It's so different. Way harsh.
Way harsh. And obviously Carl is like, whoa. And Carl says that his involvement in the business is so important, which is crazy because then there's Kyle saying Carl could walk away from the company and we wouldn't feel a thing.
They are on two different playing fields here. They have no earthly idea what each other's thinking. There's no way that they're both this far away from what each other is thinking and it not be, this is a serious issue. This is why there's a problem. This is why there's an issue.
Yes.
Because they're not communicating. They're not talking to each other. They're not keeping each other abreast or privy to what is going on. That one literally thinks they're the face of the brand. And the other one is like, take him or leave him. It wouldn't matter.
Right? Like, how are you guys this far off base?
It's not. This is horrible. And they're supposed to be good friends too. So this is just like, we are seeing the downfall of a friendship.
Exactly.
In a way that I don't think we were expecting, but yeah.
I don't think Kyle's taking any accountability for the way he's handled the friendship either. I think that Kyle, after that reunion, it's pretty clear that Kyle doesn't like Lindsay and Carl, or Lindsay. How about that? Lindsay. I think that Kyle is, I feel like maybe Kyle's doing the happy wife, happy life type of thing. In my opinion, Amanda's always trying to please Paige. Amanda's very much like wanting to always be Paige's bestie and be on Paige's good side. That is in my opinion, that's kind of like her goal.
MO.
And so we obviously know that Paige doesn't like Lindsay. And so now Kyle has figured out, which is crazy to me because Paige and Ciara have been the ones to talk the most shit about Kyle. as where Lindsay and Danielle have always been pretty supportive and never really said shit about the relationship and just been like, I hope you guys are happy. But how I feel like Kyle now has been listening and supporting Amanda the most and is pretty against Lindsay. That was pretty clear at the reunion. How have Kyle and Carl not had a conversation since then and been like, are we cool?
I don't know. It just feels it feels like there's something really fucked up that happened or that we just don't know about, because it doesn't make sense how this friendship has just completely gone in the gutter. They were all three really good friends. They've all been around each other as they've dated other people, as they've dated each other once, as they've, as he was dating Amanda. So they all know where the bodies are buried, all of them. And it feels as though, like, what happened? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it's like we are really missing a piece here.
But it feels like no one, even Lindsay, I'm surprised, hasn't gone to Kyle being like, dude, like, we're best friends. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Because, like, after the reunion, someone commented, Kyle posted something like, guys, take it easy on social media with us because, we are a group of friends or something, like, whatever.
I hated it.
And someone commented something like, well, your wife had some harsh things to say about your friend Lindsay. And Kyle said something like, no, she didn't. And Lindsay replied to that and said, Carl's tainted by Lindsay. Like, she put that in quotes. Like, do you not remember her saying that? Like, yes, there were things that were said. And I don't know if Kyle ever replied, or I assume they took it offline. I assume that because it was a comment that he was like, oh, let me text her maybe. But I feel like when we saw Winter House, it was pretty clear that even Kyle didn't even really want them there.
No one wanted them there, and it was so uncomfortable.
It was horrible.
Why are they here? It's like that couple that you invite on the fucking vacation that you're like, oh, I did it to be nice, but now I wish I hadn't. And it just feels like, what the fuck? Which I hate that for them.
I do too, because, like, what are we fucking missing? What are we missing, guys? Like, someone clue us in. It's like even the cast doesn't want to fully say it.
Well, it also feels like Carl's just not himself. Even Carl would have something to say.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what it is, and I can understand where Kyle is coming from when he's like Lindsay. Like, I don't want to blame Lindsay. It's not Lindsay per se, but something with the dynamic of the relationship has actually shifted the triangular relationship, the throuple that they were in. Amanda was always an outlier. It was always Carl, Kyle, and Lindsay.
Yeah.
And then
Danielle.
Amanda and Kyle. And Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just feels like, guys, it's two people dating, and it just changes the group dynamic. And I feel like Kyle doesn't want to admit that. No one wants to admit it. No one wants to say what it is. And no one wants to say that things have changed.
I want to try this out on you. So last week, my guest, Kelly, said that she thinks that for Kyle, it's a big adjustment that Carl doesn't need Kyle and Lindsay doesn't need Kyle. Because Kyle was always picking Lindsay up off the ground when she'd stumbled and fallen over drunk and been crying about a guy. And Carl was leaning on Kyle a lot as like his big brother, so to speak. And now that Carl and Lindsay have each other, Kyle is starting to feel maybe like he doesn't know where he stands. And maybe that's the resentment. But he doesn't, like, when things are happening, you don't really know that that's what's going on. So it turns into anger and resentment. How do we feel about that?
I can see that. I don't know if... Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I would say that's all of it, but I do...
Right? Yeah, it's not all
of
it.
There is something about Kyle that's about the... Yes, like, because Kyle likes control. He needs to take care of everything. He needs to be the person who's like overseas and has it all together and makes sure that everything's going on. And when that no longer exists, you don't know where to expend that energy. So you're like, shit, my friend no longer needs my help. Lindsay is no longer, single and trying to figure it out. So then who do I go to?
Yeah. And then now that dynamic shifts and now Carl's like, I deserve more. He's like, really? Fuck you. Are you serious? Now you don't need me and now you think you're better? So, okay. Ooh, we are getting places. Ooh, this feels good.
I agree because I think that that's it. It's kind of like low-key savior complex.
Yeah, very much, very much. Well, Kyle always feels like he is the reason for everything. Kyle, that's very much Kyle's narrative in his head.
Which is why it makes sense that he dates, or no longer dating, but why he and Amanda work well together. Because Amanda didn't know what a prenup was. Because Dad never explained it to her. And Dad ran her finances until she got married. So, you know what I mean? There's a dad, like, I don't want to be like there's a daddy complex, but there kind of is.
Yeah.
Like, in a weird way.
Like, that's correct.
Yeah.
I would thought it was bold of Danielle to say that she's like, I would not work for this person if I was you. I'm like, girl.
I love her. I love her. I feel like she's not meant for reality TV, but not because she's not great, but because she's just too level-headed.
She showed up. She's showing up more this season, I think, than so far, just like this weekend. Like, she showed up without Lindsay and said, I'm still going to work. Don't worry. She's like, she's even going over, like, she goes over to Chris, who's stretching to like be like, hey, she teases him for getting rejected by a girl. She's like, remember last night when you got rejected by that girl? I'm going to remind you. Cameras didn't catch it, but I want to let everyone know.
I have a question for you. Do you feel like there's like they're vibing a little bit?
I don't know if she's connecting with him because he's the other Latino and she's like, hey, but I have an aversion to him, so I hope she's not vibing with him. I can't stand him. Yeah, he kind of
weirds me out.
He's always like, everything that comes out of his mouth, he's like, I'm hitting on you. I'm hitting on you. I'm like, just have a conversation with a girl, for crying out loud.
It's too much. There's something off.
I was glad that Ciara was like, okay, dude, like, you're being gross. Like,
he just lays it on really thick, and it makes me sad that that's Kyle's only male friend in the house right
That's
now.
right. It's so pathetic. I'm like, this was casting.
Need guys. Yeah.
This was
Why can't we just bring Alex back? Where the fuck is Andrea? Like, where are the men? I need guys.
Guys, this was not working. Okay, Gabby, it was cute. Gabby calls her sister and she's like, we are admittedly codependent. She's moved to New Orleans. I don't know what to do. But she does say that she's like, we are now cool with Danielle. Because you know that Danielle was like the girl that she stalked online and was like, who is this fucking bitch that was with my ex? But now she's like, we're cool. And I'm sure my ex is going to shit his pants. And I thrive in that space. So we're good. She's everything.
And they're both on a show. Gabby is everything. This was a great casting choice.
Yeah.
Perfect fit in. Just perfect.
How fun for her now, because like her ex is getting all this like hate. Like everyone, like he knows who he is. And he's like, damn.
And he fucked it up.
He's like,
fucked it up. 2 girls on Summer House. It really is. Oh God.
So they're down in the kitchen, and I have to say, Danielle is really trying to be friendly with Ciara, considering where they came off from last season. Ciara comes down in like a little PJ set, and Danielle gives her life for that PJ set. And I'm like, okay, look, Danielle really is like, I'm not going to hold a grudge. We are really going to be clean slate. Danielle is the realist, and I'm loving her in every which way. So
same
respect.
I love that I'm already seeing the two of them just kind of get together in episode 3. We don't have to wait a whole fucking season. It's just there. And they're both, to me, equally doing the work and putting in the effort. And it's just normal and easy and chill.
Totally. Because that's what we need from reality TV stars. Like, just keep it moving. Please don't hold a grudge for too long, because then it just gets so boring.
You can't tell the same story over and over again. I can't tell you how many scenes where I'm like, we can't do this scene again. I cannot do this breakup scene again for the 3rd time. It's over. Either we're over or we're not, but that's fine, but we can't do it anymore. It's boring.
I bet that must be like such a nightmare. You're like, oh, really? You want to do this again?
Yep.
How are we going to make this interesting? We can't make it interesting because it's not.
We can't.
Okay.
Y'all cheat on each other all the time. Y'all are doing whatever, and we have to just tell the breakup story all over again.
This tea party was interesting. Obviously they're like, okay, we need activities now, guys. We need activities to do. So we're going to do a tea party. I'm like, what? Paige is the one who planned it, supposedly. I'm going to talk some shit about her planning skills because she's got them sitting in the blazing sun. And I was like, why are they just sitting on this tiny table? And then thankfully the poor server's like, do you want umbrellas? Clearly, because then he brings over umbrellas. I was like, Jesus Christ.
They look miserable.
Oh, God. They're like just sitting there, just wait. They're like, should we just call his name? I'm like, no, you should have waited to sit out there until what is happening, Paige?
Well, it felt like Charleston might be rubbing off on her just a little bit with the tea party. But then the other stuff, I was like, what happened there? We just forgot about the rest.
Yeah. It's like she just wanted to put the outfit on. Yeah. And then she forgot about the rest of it.
Yes. I was also vibing that. I just felt like we just wanted to get dressed. I didn't even realize that they didn't leave the house until after the fact. I was like, wait, they were at the house. Oh, so they just wanted to get dressed up and eat sandwiches outside. Like, that's how I felt.
And they were like just peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and some like cheese, and
it was
I don't even know what else was in there. I was like, Paige, this is hardly exciting.
This is not it. And we are in the Hamptons. There is everything out there for you at your fingertips. And they're in Sag Harbor. I'm like, there's so much. Did they order that? It just felt very lackluster.
Very lackluster. Very
like, where's Craig when you need him?
As soon as they sat down in the blazing sun, they
looked all hot.
And I'm like, and of course now I notice when they don't wear sunglasses because it like makes me crazy. And I'm like, okay, they either get an umbrella or put sunglasses on or something. And then the one server who I wonder what he thought this was going to be. He's like, what is this exactly? Yeah. What was I hired to do? What do you guys want? He's like, here's your tray of sandwiches. Do you guys want alcohol? I don't know what this is. And then it's just this tiny little table. And then he's like, then he's just like sitting inside, like, I guess that's it. Talking to the crew. He's like, so what do you guys do? Poor guy.
By the way, that actually happens all the time.
I'm sure. He's like, I don't fucking know what the hell I'm here for.
It's like a thing. It's a thing. We talk to the people who we bring on. Yes. It's so funny because they'll talk shit. Like, what is this? This is crazy. Your job seems crazy. And yeah, that's so funny. It's true. It's a real thing.
I'm totally sure. All right. They do like a little pull a question out of the teapot thing. Maya says she does not want a kid, but of course this brings up Amanda. And Amanda doesn't look, she looks skinnier. Like, Amanda doesn't look quite healthy. Like, she's gotten off the pill.
Really thin. Yeah.
And like her hair looks thinner. Like, it's like something does look health wise not great.
Yeah.
So I'm glad she is going to the doctor. And Paige like, she's like, what happens if the doctor says you can't have kids?
Like, for real?
Jesus Christ, Paige.
Talk about this. I mean, bull in a china shop. I was like, what happens? Well, I don't know, Paige. I mean, we now have to start. I mean, like, what do you want? The whole thing? That, yes, they have to now question whether or not there's something wrong with her reproductive system. Do we need to talk about this and lay this out on the table? Is it Amanda? Now Amanda's going to feel like it's her. So what happens if the doctor tells you? I'm like, oh my God. Like, guilt?
She already said she doesn't want to go because she doesn't want to know. And you're like, well, let's go with worst case scenario. Let's lay that out for you, huh? How do we feel about that? Like,
dude,
God damn it.
I was like, can you fucking reel it in for 1 second?
Savage.
Can you please? I mean, this is also coming from a person who's like, I'm cool with living in New York for the rest of my life, even if I'm married. And my husband lives in Charleston.
Yeah,
so.
Totally. She's like, I love long distance. Like, yeah. I've always said that, like, I wouldn't mind having separate bedrooms, but she takes it to the next level. She's like, separate states is just fine. We don't have to ever get together.
Yeah. It really says so much, though, doesn't it?
It totally does. Danielle, though, she does bring up what Kyle said about Carl. Ciara immediately coming to Kyle's defense and Maya clearly coming to that. I'm like, okay, so Kyle has talked about this with all of them. Mm-hmm. None of them look surprised by the conversation. And Ciara, Amanda, Paige, and Maya have all sat around and talked about Carl at Loverboy. Clearly.
Ooh, I didn't think about it like that, but I can see it.
Yeah. Ciara,
they don't. You're right. They're not as like surprised.
Not at all. No, they didn't flinch.
No.
They didn't flinch, and Ciara said, she's like, well, because Carl was pretty bad. I'm like, how the fuck do you know? So, okay, got it.
Ooh, that's right.
And so noted. And then Amanda said, she's like, Carl was a mess coming into the office and like other people complained. Basically, like he should have been fired, but we saved his job. Okay, got it. And Danielle, they're like, let's just not tell Carl. And Danielle's like, oh, well, did that already.
By the way, no one flinched either in that moment. I was like, somebody getting upset? No one got upset.
They were like,
kind of surprised.
Okay. But this was weird. Maya goes, look, the conversations have absolutely nothing to do with us, but it's becoming like more of a house thing than it should be. So like, why are we even talking about them? I'm like, Maya, haven't you been involved in the conversations too? Like,
that is
admit
correct.
that you're being messy too, girl. Like
that is
like you can take it down. Take it down. Anywho, now the girls go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I wonder if it's Amanda who's probably telling all the girls.
Oh yeah,
because Kyle, which is not great.
And let's even put it like, let's say Amanda tells them at first, and then like, let's say Kyle joins the girls for a night out one time, and then he gets drunk and he's fucking being messy because he would do that, right?
100%. Kyle's a great producer.
He gets messy like that. So
yeah.
But so the girls are day drinking is one thing, and they were like in the blazing sun, so they're drunk already. So they're like, okay, now let's change and go meet the boys. And they arrived to that brewery trashed. You don't usually see Paige that drunk. And she was like wasted, telling Kyle, like, everyone here is wasted. I'm like, whoa, girl, you're rarely this drunk. So
she was really drunk.
They drunk. But this is where Ciara starts talking to that Chris guy, and he's like, so, like, what do you do? And she's like, I'm a nurse. And immediately he's like, oh, you're a nurse? Can you take care of my head? She's like, literally, she goes, the most annoying thing any guy can say is, can you take care of XYZ? So, like, don't. And then he keeps going. He's like, what if I were to pass out and you need to give me CPR, like mouth to mouth? She's like, I just fucking told you to don't do that. I can't stand this guy.
He's just not it for me. I don't hate him or anything. He's just kind of there, but I'm just like, what is the deal? And it was especially after this episode where I thought, you're just trying too hard. Just chill out.
Because we had Andrea and Alex last season. We had Andrea who could, hit on anything, and it was like, I don't mind, that's fine. And Alex, who was just like this awkward guy who was like making his turkey and stuff. So it was like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, Chris is just kind of not doing it for me. Here's the thing. I want Andrea back, and I feel as though they didn't bring him back because he's in a relationship. And this show's notorious for not wanting to cast people or not wanting to keep people on that are in relationships.
Yep.
But what are we getting with Chris that we would not get with Andrea? Andrea would still be Andrea even if he's in a relationship.
I would love to. I actually am fascinated. I can't wait for next week when we see Andrea, and I'm like, what does he look like when he's in a relationship? What does he bring to the table? Like, like he's so loved in the Bravo verse, guys. Come on,
he really is. At this point, I'll take Corey. I'll take anyone.
We need men in this damn house.
We need men. Men, we need
like,
them.
Who are these girls going to hit on? Who are these girls going to hit on? They're just talking to each other. This is so boring. And that's why they're not staying up late. They're not staying up late because there's no one for them to flirt with.
No one wants to party because no one can fuck. That's the problem. Like,
they're I'm going to bed.
Yeah, and they just want to have slumber parties. The girls just want to have slumber parties and have tea parties.
This is not
like, what is this show?
What is happening? What the hell?
We need dick in the house.
We do. Jesus Christ, guys. This is like 101. This is just basic.
Oh, God. We're just missing it.
Kyle and Danielle are both equally drunk. Like we're watching both Kyle and Danielle. And they're almost having like parallel experiences. Like they're both off to one side talking about each other. Like I'm gonna talk to him. I'm gonna talk to her about the whole Carl thing. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. But then they get distracted because they're drunk and they're like, oh yeah, look, that person's over there. And they like they get distracted because like something happens. But then eventually they do end up talking. Danielle's talking about Kyle while Kyle is like 2 feet away.
That's what I was just about to say. And she's loud. And then all of a sudden they widen out into like a 3-shot or 4-shot. And I'm like, oh my God, they're right next to each other.
I thought he was like across the way.
So did I. And she's literally talking loudly. And you just look over and Kyle's just like, I'm right here. And then you realize right here is a foot away.
She's like, I'm not talking to you right now, okay? He's like, but I'm right next to you.
And the way that they fight.
It's so drunk. She's like, this is not going to be productive because you're wasted. I'm like, Danielle, I'm pretty sure you are too, sweetie.
It was just a very, no, you are. No, you are. No, you are. It was so funny to me. I couldn't even take it seriously.
At all. I took none of this seriously whatsoever. Because I bet Chris felt super weird because she's like, Chris, I am not going to talk to Kyle right now because Kyle is so drunk. It's not even worth it. And he's like, you mean Kyle who's right there?
Yeah. Less than a foot away. Like,
you mean so Kyle who's weird. Kyle's like looking over like, hello, like I'm right here. Chris
right
is like,
here.
Mm-hmm. He's listening. He can hear you. He feels so uncomfortable.
Oh my God. And then earlier, do you remember when Danielle was like telling Sam, shh, they're talking about me. Shh. And he looks over and I'm like, what is with these people?
But then they both would like get distracted and like Kyle goes and like plays Connect 4 and Danielle's like, ooh, your guy's here. But then of course, Kyle storms off and is now yelling from across the way like, hey, call Carl up, okay? Hey, call him up. I'm done. And it's a dramatic walk-off. It's Kyle's signature. But I mean, what would this weekend have been without both Danielle or Kyle? We would have gotten nothing. Honestly, they brought a lot to the table. This is mess that we needed. And Kyle walks all the way out. I think he leaves, right?
Well, I was going to say, I think he's going to Video Village.
Oh.
I think he's going to Village. And when he's like, I'm done, he's talking to producers. He's like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this conversation. I'm done with this. And goes to Village. That's right. I think he's going.
And they're like, okay, Kyle.
Yeah. They're like, cool. Cool story.
Like,
and
sure.
So we're still filming you and this is the show.
Sure, Kyle. We do this all the time. He's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Sure. Got it.
He's so predictable. Predictable. You know they're in Village being like, oh, guys, get ready for it. So-and-so, just make sure you got a shot on Kyle. He's about to storm off. Like, we know he's going to do it.
100%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this is Paige now, drunk and all. She's like, Danielle, I've been waiting to tell you this for years. Why do you throw yourself under the bus for Lindsay when Lindsay does not ride for you? I will say on Watch What Happens Live, when Danielle was asked the question, can you name a time where Lindsay did not have your back at all? Danielle said, no, there has not been a time. Like, even in this war they're in, she is able to say, like, no, I don't think that Lindsay has, like, never had my back. She's like, no, she's had my back. Like, that is for sure. However, we can all, even when last season with the wine glass throw, it was pretty sad that Lindsay did not seem to have Danielle's back as much as maybe Danielle would have had hers. It seemed like Lindsay was just kind of quiet.
Yes. I think that Lindsay lacked in standing up for her friend. I think Lindsay was scared of what that would look like and what the backlash of viewership would be if she said anything.
Right?
That entire table, if I'm being completely frank, because of what had happened between two women of color, I think the entire table was too afraid to talk about it.
Oh.
They didn't want to have a conversation where they're saying Ciara's at fault or Danielle's at fault because of what that would risk in terms of how it could be perceived. It's just a real thing. I think cast members get really scared to talk about that stuff. I hated it. I was like, this is bullshit. Why the fuck isn't anyone talking about this? But that's what it felt like to me.
They really made Danielle just let it go.
Yeah. Because even when Lindsay tries to talk to Ciara about it at the beach later on, when she's wearing the wig, I think she's just kind of like, you know, of what happened yesterday. And Ciara's like, what? And Lindsay's like, mutters, you threw the wine glass. Like, she's like afraid to say it. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
People make mistakes.
Yeah.
So you can say it. But yeah, it just, I don't think that, to me, Lindsay definitely did not stand up for her. And then I thought back to a time when Lindsay knew about Kyle maybe making out with somebody and then had told Danielle about it, and Danielle accidentally said it to Paige. And when Danielle comes clean to Lindsay about doing that, Lindsay freaks out and is way nasty to her about it.
Yeah, I remember that.
So there were those moments where I'm like, I understand y'all are really good friends, and I agree. I don't think that Lindsay rides as hard for Danielle as she should, but I do also have to give a little latitude to everyone friendships differently.
Yep.
So I know that there are times where I feel like I ride way, way hard for my friends, and they don't do it in the same way, but that's just because they communicate or they just friendship differently.
Exactly.
So,
and I have to put you have to put responsibility on yourself because you set up dynamics in friendships. And full transparency, Danielle and I even had a bit of a conversation in DMs one time because I posted something about she did a podcast and there was like a clip that was posted, and I said that I really related to it because like I'd had a few friendship divorces throughout the years throughout my life, and they were very significant. And what I said, she asked, like, would you mind like elaborating on that? And I said, like, what I learned is that I kept repeating the same prototype friendship where I would find a friend. They were typically insecure, but they overcompensated with being kind of like, they would tease me a lot and put me down. And then I would make myself smaller in order to make them feel comfortable. And then I would build resentment. And then we'd have a huge falling out. And so I kept like replacing that type of friendship like over and over until finally I broke the cycle. So you have to like put a little bit of responsibility on yourself. Yeah. And so she's clearly built up this type of friendship with Lindsay, and it works for them. And I think that's what we're going to see this season, where she's going to say, hey, Lindsay, this isn't working for me. I'm going to need a little bit more. Yeah. And Lindsay's going to say, I'm not going to give it to you. That's my guess.
That's my guess. I agree. I just think it's going to be, Lindsay's not going to understand it because much like Kyle and Carl, the dynamic is going to change. And it's hard for people to understand that when that changes, the friendship then has to change. Everything has to change because that person isn't who you thought that they were because they were trying to fill in an ideology or what they think they should be in a friendship.
Yeah. So, okay, the next day, we had that awkwardness between Sam and Josh, the guy that, like, trainer guy.
It needs to go. I hated that he had to stay there. I was like, can we please just get him a car? Can production just get him a car and send him back to the city for all of us?
Get out of there. They lingered on it too long.
Way too long.
We get it.
And then we had to do a fucking wake up? I was like, I don't need a wake up. I don't need to see it out, please. God. It was so boring.
Like, it went on and on.
I hated it.
Please don't ever make me watch that again. Please, God. Please,
I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed. And then I thought, oh, well, he came from the city, so he can't go home. It was tragic. It was really tragic, and we had to be subjected to it. There was no way around it.
So finally, Danielle and Kyle do talk. She doesn't want. My favorite. He goes, Danielle, can we talk? She goes, I don't want to. And he's like, okay, well, I would like to. So finally, she sits down and does talk to him. And
she's like, fine, fuck it, we're doing it.
She admits, she's like, I know I go too hard for them. And he's like, I'm sorry for taking it out on you. And he admits, I'm not handling it well as a friend or a CEO, but he did text Carl, I'm done.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
I need clarification. Because I'm like, what does that mean? Is he done? Like, where are we at? And we need cameras on Carl. I need to know what this means. I need to know how Lindsay feels about it. I need to know what they said. I need to know what they did. We didn't get any of that. By the way, fuck Kyle. And fuck you for doing that shit off camera. And fuck you for not telling us until this conversation. And what the fuck did Carl say? What happened?
Kyle's like, fucked up on this one. Fire him to make things easier?
He should have never worked with his friend.
I thought Carl was an investor too. Like, girl, I so many goddamn questions here.
There's just a lot of shit we don't know.
And what here's what annoyed me. For next week, the teaser didn't even really show that type of follow-up. It showed them playing some like game, and it's Danielle saying that they're playing some game. She's like, I trust Amanda the least, and Amanda's in tears, and Kyle's out screaming when people are actual assholes and actual bitches, fuck everybody, giving Lindsay fucking Hubbard so much power. And like, so too much is happening off camera, and what's starting to I'm starting to get confused of who's keeping it off camera. Is it Carl that's keeping shit off camera, or is it Kyle?
Both. I feel like it's Lindsay from a PR perspective because let's call it what it is. She's in PR, and Carl is her new client in a lot of ways. I don't know, but I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, and I seriously was just thinking, did something happen that we're not abreast of? Like, did Carl fall off the wagon? Did something happen where we're all trying to not say it, and we keep getting closer and closer to saying it, so then everyone's freaked out?
That's like something more recently?
Yes, because it kind of ties back to what I was saying at the beginning when we were talking about this. It feels very like Sheena and Shay. Like, it just feels like Lindsay's just trying to keep the wheels on. Like, we're just gotta go. We're good. Everything's great. We're perfect. We're this, we're that. But we don't hear that coming from Carl. Carl is not saying these things. We just assume it because it's always a we and an our, and my thoughts are her thoughts and her thoughts are my thoughts, that we're not getting individual perspectives. It's okay that they have the same thoughts, but we're not getting them independently. We're not seeing and hearing I feel this way. It's we, our relationship, our thoughts, our feelings. This is how we handle it. It just feels very not separate at all. Like, we've just kind of lost all autonomy.
Because Kyle, I don't want to believe that Kyle is just suddenly a totally bad person.
No.
And you know, how many times have they said, Lindsay especially, that Carl was struggling with his sobriety, he was really struggling with his sobriety, so I got sober. I'm like, did something happen in that time period?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it just feels like, did something else occur that maybe Lindsay doesn't want people to find out? Maybe Kyle doesn't even know. Maybe it's something Kyle knows and Lindsay doesn't know. I don't know. But it just feels like there's something else that happened that we just don't know about.
Yeah, because it's like they're talking in code.
Yes. It feels like they're talking in code, and they're winking and nodding, and like
they're winking. They're like, it's like they're looking at each other and winking, and they're like kind of they're doing this thing where they're like, you don't know everything, Danielle.
Yes,
and they're like giving her this look, like, it's like we'll tell you about it if you want to. Yes. I don't know, just something, and because I don't put anything past any of them, as much as I do love Lindsay and Carl, and I think they love each other very much, and they do feel like soulmates. I still, like, sobriety doesn't make you completely cured by any means.
No, you have to figure out all the other shit that
so much work that should be done
underneath
after
the sobriety.
That. Yeah. And
it's a long road.
Lindsay has repeatedly said that Carl was struggling with his sobriety, so she got sober for him. And the whole thing with Maya texting him, like, let's go smoke a joint, like, made her freak out because he was struggling with her sobriety and she had to get sober for him. So, like, clearly that was a very tense and major time.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I feel like no one gets this upset. I had a conversation yesterday about this. I said, I just don't think, it's hard for me to imagine that Lindsay's actually getting upset about Maya possibly hitting on Carl. Like for everything that Lindsay is, which we all know, she's very possessive, she's very passionate, she's very like mine in relationships. It still is hard for me to wrap my head around that she legitimately thinks that Maya is hitting on Carl. I cannot understand it. There has to be something else. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, that it was so yeah, it's I'm definitely with you on that. It feels like they're all kind of there's like they're saying something, but they're not quite fully saying it. They all seem to know something. And it feels like Danielle doesn't. It feels like Danielle's like, I literally don't know what you all are talking about.
Correct. Like, Danielle is the only one that doesn't know. Even at the brunch in the last episode, it felt like, because I keep going to this energy of it feels like Carl is being coached or Carl's reading a script, but it's not that. It just feels that Carl's trying to make sure he's not saying the wrong thing because he doesn't want whatever we think could have happened out. That he looks at Lindsay. Every time he says something, he looks at Lindsay like, was that okay? But not because she's telling him what to do, but she is, because she is a PR person. She's not stupid. So it's very convoluted. And I think that because there's so many layers to the PR, their relationship, they do love each other. It's kind of hard to see what the relationship actually is, which is why it feels so fake. Even though we know it's not.
Yeah. And so remember that, I mean, how can we forget when Amanda said that Lindsay was the rudest to fans and that sparked a whole controversy, right? So I was kind of like, how dare you, Amanda? Like, why would you? But it sticks in my head that when Kyle was on Watch What Happens Live, was it with Maya?
Yes.
Anyway, Andy was because he was trying to keep the drama going, because that's what you do when you go and watch What Happens Live. And he was like, did you expect it to ignite such a war, whatever? And Kyle was given the opportunity to like change the answer or something. And Kyle was like, well, let me ask you a question, Andy. At the big Watch What Happens Live, the first night of BravoCon, didn't one of your producers have an issue with Lindsay? And Andy was like, all right, we're moving on. And didn't answer that question. So that just always sticks out in the back of my mind. I'm like, so wait, hold on. I would love you to elaborate. You won't, I know. But like, is Lindsay some sort of like secret, difficult person to work with?
I want to say yes.
Okay, you're going to say yes. Have you heard?
I'm going to say yes. No, I just think I feel like I've worked with personalities like this. Okay. I don't think she's difficult because I don't think she's like difficult like in a Brandi Glanville way. I just think that she's difficult in it's like, how do I say this without it sounding like I just manipulate cast members, but like nothing gets past her. So she fights everything. Like, she's going to be a person that says, no, I'm not doing that because it's going to look like this when I do that. And you're just like, please just let me just get it there. Or she gets it. And people who sometimes get it too much, it can either be a great thing or it can be a terrible thing. And I think this is a reason why her and Kyle, why her and Carl feel so like facade, because she just knows better. So then she thinks that she knows what she's doing and how it should be, and it's not coming across on camera that way. That's what I think.
Oh, that was very well explained.
I hope so.
I got it. No, that totally made sense.
Because I'm not going to sit here and go, they're in a fake relationship. Oh, they don't love each other. Oh, they don't do this. It feels that way, but they're not. It's just kind of the perception that I think she wants to put out there about them, and it's just not doing them any favors, and it just feels so fucking fake, even though it's not.
Pia and I have many conversations about this. We're never going to see them like fight on camera. They're not going to have like knockdown, drag out, messy fights, which is why this should be their last season. Even as a fan of theirs, like we're not going to get that. We're not going to get like what Amanda and Kyle have given us. We're not even going to get what Paige and Craig have given us, because Lindsay's too careful.
Way too careful.
And that's, but then what's the point, Yeah.
And I think they're also looking for opportunities to, like, from Summer House after they wrap and after this is done. I think they need the opportunities to be there for them when the Summer House road ends. And so now they're just too careful. That's what it feels like to me. Because they know that the road's coming to an end.
That's a good point. Well, and I'm sure Carl is like, I don't drink, so I can't do this forever. Like, at this point, Carl should just be like a Barry's boot camp ambassador.
But just not in sales, please. Get Carl out of sales. He's never liked it. He hates it. He's been fired many, many times. It's just not his thing. Get him the fuck out. He doesn't like it. Stop it.
Sales. He resents it very much. He doesn't appreciate it.
Nope. He's been fired twice on the show. Like, be done. This is the third time. Like, what's with the sales? Get out of sales.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he wants to be a celebrity. He and Lindsay both, and that's okay. That's okay.
Totally.
So
Pia came up with the idea that they could have like a travel show, like one of those little travel shows, because they are traveling all the time. That's not my market, but she's like, I love a travel show. I'm like, okay, fine.
I can't see them be like that. The naughty nurse scarred me. I'm sorry.
I felt the same way. As soon as it started, I was like, no, don't do this. No.
And I am not a kink shamer.
No, but it wasn't. It was. No, it was so. It was so upsetting. It was so jarring.
They were filling the roles of what they think that people who are into kink do. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's okay not to be in kink, but like that was the first time they'd ever done that, even though they wanted us to think that they'd done it many times. I was like, mm-mm.
And there was at BravoCon, there was like it was one of the one of the panels and games that they played or something. And the guys, it was like Vanderpump and Southern Charm and Summer House guys. The guys were in the front, and the audience had to guess which of them had that like kink or like that thing, and it was like a naughty nurse thing. And of course Lindsay was like, I know Carl's into that. And so then when I see this, I'm like, are you saying because of this Carl's into that? I don't know if that counts, because like this was that no. I don't. I mean, again, I don't know what they do. I feel like maybe they do a bunch of stuff, but that doesn't prove it to me, okay? Because like
no, it doesn't. That
traumatized me.
Also, we forgot to talk about this just real quick. Now that we're on to a little bit of like sex and kink, Paige and butt plugs.
Okay, did she say she had done that?
I think, or like somebody called it out, and she didn't.
Confusing.
Yes, I think she did. She says that she did that.
She did butt plugs. Did she say once? Okay.
She was like, it was only one time. And okay, so who do we think it was?
I would go Craig.
Okay, I was thinking Andrea.
Oh, I see. I don't think that they hooked up enough times for her to explore things.
Explore that? Okay.
But I feel like Craig is a naughty, naughty, kinky boy.
Yeah.
And they have wild sex. I can tell. They do like wild, crazy stuff.
It's hard for me to imagine Craig in bed like that. And I don't understand why people keep saying he's like the best they've ever had. And I don't get that. I don't get that. I don't want to understand that.
I do. Here's why. Because he's crazy. Okay. I always say that your best, you should never marry your best sex ever, because your best sex ever usually belongs in like prison. But because they're crazy, they take that craziness and they take it right into the bedroom.
That tracks.
Yeah, and I totally can imagine like Craig and his wild brain bringing all that nutso-ness into the bedroom. Oh yeah.
God, but it's just I think imagining it just makes me feel ill. It makes me feel like, what? Because he's like this. You know, he has like, hi guys, like, I can't. And then he baby talks. It's
their baby talk is bad. I feel like they don't even notice they're doing it, because like that's just how they talk to each other. But it was in Winter House. It was
no, I hate it.
It's bad. Yeah, it's constant. It's constant. Yeah.
Okay, so Paige and Craig butt plugs, great.
I know. We just spread that. We just made that a thing.
Yeah,
you heard it here first, folks. All right, well, that wraps us up. This was fun. Can we do this like all the time?
Yes. Let's do it.
This is super fun. That's super fun.
This is a lot of fun.
Ooh,
thank you
let's
for having
do Jersey next.
I'm totally down. We're not recapping Jersey. How are you
feeling about? Oh, you're not? Oh, perfect.
We're not.
Mine. How are you feeling about this season?
I'm actually into it. Me really
too.
Surprised.
I did not expect to be.
Neither did I. I was scarred from SLC, and that's why we're not recapping it. And then I've been watching, and I'm going, wait, hold on a second. There are things that are happening. Cast is great. new cast.
The new cast
Teresa and
is
Melissa
good.
story not bothering me. Yeah. I'm feeling it. Jen Fessler stuffing matzah in her fucking mouth. Like, I'm here for it.
Same.
Here for it.
Very shocked. All right,
Yeah.
so this will not be the last of Joey from Reality Bites podcast. tell the people where they can find you and follow you and all that stuff.
You guys can follow us at a Reality Bites podcast on Instagram and TikTok. And you can find our podcast wherever you listen.
I'll have
Reality
everything
Bites.
linked in the description, so that'll
Love
be
it.
easy. And all right, guys, I'll see you next time. Love you, mean it. Bye. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, would you mind leaving me a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you are listening? If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget there's the super thanks option down at the bottom, the little button with the $ and the heart. And also I'm on buymeacoffee.com/SheSpeaksBravo if you want to buy me a little coffee or 2 or 5. And my Patreon, that is where I'm covering all of the classic Bravo jams. If you want to follow me over there and subscribe, link is in the description. And follow me on Instagram and TikTok at She Speaks Bravo. And whoever the guest was for today, all their information is always in the episode description. So if you want to follow them and check them out, check there for the info. And any of the sponsor codes that I mentioned in this episode will also be in the description. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.